couple of minutes late today. This is a special Christmas edition of your Poem of the Week. We are coming to you live from St. Paul's United Methodist Church in Houston, Texas. And we have with us a very special guest, Joanna, Ruth, Blair.
Holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth.
And so it came to pass that the three wise men made their way westward from the land in the east into the setting sun across the four corners, and came to behold the bright neon star illuminating the darkness high above the Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. I am not making this up.
Only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
The three wise men had been locked inside of a self-storage bin in a suburban town east of where the king was born. And no one had visited them in over a year. And already cobwebs and dust were filling the building. But nonetheless, they were released, and their first destination was the city where the king was born. I am talking, of course, about Tupelo, Mississippi.
Shall I stay? Would it be a sin if I can't help falling in love with you?
My mother loved Christmas. Every year, for as long as I could remember, she would make new Christmas decorations. And the one that I remember the most was the three wise men. They were made of old rags, wheat pasted around quart-sized bottles of 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, and Cheer wine, and painted with Byzantine robes. There were kite strings for beards. A bright, shiny Prel shampoo cap was used as one of the jewels on the crown, and the chest containing the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh were made from the red plastic hotel from a Monopoly set.
We three kings of Orient are bearing gifts. We travel so far, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star.
In the time of King Herod, the Magi came to Jerusalem to ask where the king had been born, for they had seen the star rise, which foretold of his coming. And Herod called his astronomers and scribes in the council, and it was concluded that he was born in Bethlehem of Judea. And the three wise men were sent by Herod with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and most importantly, instructions to return and tell Herod the exact location of his birth. In short, the three wise men were spies.
Star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
My mother passed in February. In this Thanksgiving, I returned to my hometown of Stone Mountain, Georgia, to plant a dogwood tree in her honor. It was my first time returning home since her passing, and enough time had passed for me to emotionally roll up the garage door to the storage bin and take back a few precious memories of her: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And I decided to look through more boxes stacked inside the storage bin. More treasures, vestiges of a life now enshrined in Ziploc baggies and put into Tupperware containers for their fate to be decided by her heirs. But as I opened the red and green Tupperware container, memories rose like the memories of my first Chef Boyardee pizza and the memory of my mother turning that red plastic Monopoly piece into a treasure chest and Elmer's gluing it into a Dr. Pepper bottle. Transforming the mundane into holy works of art spoke to me, and it was clear the three wise men must join me on my journey.
Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
And when the wise men found the Holy Family, they did indeed present the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But more importantly, upon their arrival to Bethlehem on the 12th day of Christmas, thus launching the very first Mardi Gras season, the Magi had an epiphany. And much like the former slave trader John Newton writing Amazing Grace, as he turned his slave ship around and set his captive cargo free, the three kings had a change of heart, and they warned the Holy Family of Herod's intent to kill this potential threat to his power. Epiphany. Knowing that the Holy Family had been warned, King Herod sent armed forces to kill all of the young children in Bethlehem. It is known as the Massacre of the Innocents. However, the Holy Family had indeed been warned, and they escaped to Memphis, Egypt. And that's how it came to pass that the three kings made their way to Memphis in a 1996 Saturn so they could witness the giant chrome pyramid known as the Memphis Convention Center in Memphis, Tennessee. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. The Lorraine Motel is now a civil rights museum. Frankincense. Memphis blues music is now preserved on Beale Street, also known as the B.B. King Highway. We're talking Highway 61. He is from there. He is of there. He is known as the King of the Blues, and his music served as an inspiration and the roots for what would become rock and roll. Myrrh, Elvis Presley, born in Tupelo, Mississippi, became known as the king of rock and roll. He came to Memphis for the music. He lived there. His house in Memphis is a museum to a generation. He had more gold records than anyone else and can arguably be said to have been heard by more people than anyone else born in this hemisphere. Gold. These three kings of Memphis had changed the world by bridging the cultures of black and white. Elvis Presley imbibed the black roots music of B.B. King, making it palatable for white audiences by turning it gold, while Martin Luther King used the power and organization of the church to knock down the Jericho walls of segregation. After warning the Holy Family, the Magi did not return to Jerusalem as instructed by Herod, but instead they chose to live out the remainder of their days in exile. There are many stories about what happened to them after that day, one having them pass through the line of Genghis Khan, and another having them come to this continent where they studied with the Hopi. There are many stories. But I know for a fact that the three wise men left Memphis and went to Okemah, Oklahoma to visit the home of Woody Guthrie, and on to Madrid, New Mexico, and up to the Four Corners and across the Hopi land. And as America passed in my rear view, news reports of our multiple wars and subsequent terrorist attacks passed with a frequent regularity of mile markers advertising this holiday season. And I think of the slaughter of the innocents. That, my friends, is how it came to pass, that the three wise men came westward from the four corners of Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico, across the painted desert, and came to behold the bright neon star illuminating the sky high above the Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. And this time, there was room at the end. When crossing the desert, I recommend taking up refuge in a casino, not a manger. Because if you don't gamble, it's a cheap way to rest. And in this case, the luxurious hotel was only $19. And it came with a free buffet. And the hotel even gave me a $5 credit card from which to gamble. And I don't usually do that. But under the circumstances, I figured, oh, why not? So I went out into the parking lot and I picked up the red and green Tupperware container and I pulled out each of the quart-sized figurines and I placed them on bar stools in front of a one-armed bandit. Elvis Presley was singing Wise Men Say from the sound system. I pulled back the one-armed bandit. 4 stars rolled I won myrrh. I won $19. The room was paid for. I returned the quartz-sized figurines back into their Tupperware container, where they continued their journey westward, across the painted desert, down Route 66 to Oakland, home. I had left Oakland on October 25th. It had been gone the road for 40 days and 40 nights. And as I returned home on the 40th night, I gave thanks to all those that helped the weary travelers along the way. My friends, this holiday season, may there always be room at the end. Thank you, Joanna.
Oh, you're welcome. It was my honor.
Thank you. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, for sure.
Let's do this again sometime.
Oh, I would love to.
This has been your final poem of the week for 2022. We will see you again on January the 2nd. This is Joanna. And thank you to St. Paul's United Methodist Church. And we will see you on the 2nd. Happy holidays, everybody.